Hello, welcome back to Firesense Gaming. My name is Ben, and today we're going to continue on with Rizia. So last time out we had a meeting with Supreme Wiseman Osmal over in Dirtia, which was more like a cult than a government center. That was interesting. Then we had a meeting with our Uncle Hugo where he was making some insinuations about the future of the kingdom, which resulted in us making a pretty sketchy backroom deal with Manu Sazon to leave the country. So we'll have to see kind of how all that plays out. But let's see here. We got one report and 3 news articles. Let's start with the report over here in Cadiz. Let's see. Angelica Sazon board ship to mainland. The formerly exiled Angelica Sazon has started her journey back to the mainland, boarding a ship dispatched by the Sazon family together. The former Duchess has spent much of her life in exile on Cala Cadiz, but has finally been pardoned by King Romus. Cool. Alright, let's check out the news. So, all 3 are from the Royal Herald. So we got House Speaker position vacant. With Manu Sazon out of the picture, the House of Delegates has lost their majority speaker. As the largest party, the RPP has the right to elect a new speaker amongst the delegates. So far, the party has refused to comment on possible candidates, saying they prefer to focus on overcoming the loss of Sazon first. And traitor pardoned. His Majesty has issued an official pardon to Angelica Sazon, the former Duchess of Isa and wife of the traitor to the throne, Lucas Sazon. It has been nearly 30 years since the erstwhile Duke conspired to kidnap the Crown Prince, a plot that was ultimately foiled when his spouse revealed his whereabouts to King Valero's security forces. Following the successful rescue operation spearheaded by our then allies from Valen and Lucas Sazon's swift execution, Duchess Angelica was ordered into exile. The full extent of her complicity in the kidnapping was never revealed. Now, for reasons unknown, it seems she'll be returning to the mainland from the Kalakabees village where she's now spent over half her life. We trust that she'll spend the rest of it expressing her gratitude for His Majesty King Romus and his infinite mercy, even towards those who've wished to do him harm. And Manu Sazon leaves Rizia. Rizian People's Party leader Manu Sazon has announced that he is going on an indefinite leave of absence from the House of Delegates. Citing personal reasons, he said that he would go traveling before planning to return to Cairo, where he attended school, to take up an assistant professor position at Constantium University. We suspect that the Sazon heir's decision had less to do with yearning for a return to academia and more with not wanting to get on His Majesty's bad side. We wish him Godspeed and good riddance. Interesting. Okay. Alright, let's see here. We got Isa and Salabe. Let's see, well, let's just start here in Salabe. A Dassner's uproar over drugs. Influential Dassner's religious leaders are condemning the government's lenient drug policies, stirring public outrage through sermons and demonstrations. Their growing influence threatens to destabilize the city as tensions between conservative and secular factions rise. We're just gonna go with that. We'll deploy the police to disperse them. Cool. Alright. We could probably use that little authority bump anyway. Alright, sent to Isa for the 750th anniversary of Isa University. Interesting, okay. Cameras flashed all around as my royal motorcade pulled up to the Isa University auditorium entrance. As King of Rizia and one of Isa University's most famous graduates, I had been invited to speak at the institution's 750th anniversary. Vina had agreed to accompany me. She stared numbly ahead as we came to a stop. Her eyes were red from crying. I'm sorry, sweetheart. This must not be easy for you. No, it isn't. The driver came around to open my door. I took a look out the window. A large crowd swarmed in front of the university auditorium entrance. Titus's voice came from the passenger seat. I don't think you should exit the car yet, Your Majesty. My scouts reported an altercation close to the entrance. Sioux Omida members fighting a migrant activist group by the looks of it. Shit, why haven't the police dealt with it? Because they're outnumbered. She smiled bleakly. Should the offenders be removed? Yes, I don't want any unpleasant surprises, but try not to use violence. We won't. Titus slipped out of the car. I heard shouts of defiance and the hiss of tear gas as the Golden Guard descended on the crowd. A few minutes later, he returned to escort me into the auditorium. The seats were already full of students, staff members, distinguished alumni, and nobles from House Sazon. Many wore outfits adorned with the Easy University mascot, an anthropomorphic cactus named Spiky. Terrible. I love it. They rose and bowed politely as I proceeded down the hall. I was halfway to the stage when the hall erupted into cheers. I turned my head and saw a dark-haired woman waving to the crowd, Angelica Sazon. I stopped and waited for her to reach me. She approached me, her demeanor friendly yet cautious. I suddenly remembered watching her give a speech in this very auditorium nearly 30 years ago. The person in front of me was much older, but had the exact same fire in her eyes. In Romus, we meet at last. We meet again. I saw you speak when I was studying here. Oh, that's terribly embarrassing. I'm sure I was parroting whatever revolutionary nonsense my husband was filling my head with at the time. I don't blame him for what he did. Rizia was hungry for change. It still is. A revolution bought with blood will never succeed. Her eyes traveled past me to Rika, who was already sitting on stage. I should be getting to my seat. We'll speak again soon. We can change Rizia together. It's not too late. She nodded, stepped away, continued down the aisle. Venus split off for the front row as I took my place on stage next to Rico. He was seated with his legs spread out, his expression radiating barely concealed disdain. I got quite the reception on my way in. You'd better have an explanation. Sorry, cuz. I did what I could. But the police here stretched their limit. The lights dimmed and the dean of the university stepped on stage. After a short presentation about the history of the university, she invited the Duke of Isa to speak. There was polite applause from the audience as Rico took the stage. My cousin stepped behind the podium and cleared his throat. As reigning Duke of Isa, I am honored to speak of the anniversary of Rizia's most renowned university. Must confess to you all, the only higher education I've received is from School of Life. I haven't even graduated yet. Nobody laughed. Rico frowned and continued. But when I took charge of Isa, I realized what an important role this institution plays. Isa University was founded in order to preserve our kingdom's cherished traditions, pass them on to the next generation. It's still young people like yourselves with a stable moral center, even when one is lacking outside these walls. But somehow, over the years, that purpose was lost. This school has become a breeding ground for an ideology that prioritizes foreign perspectives over our own. A place where this nation's greatest achievements are seen as problems to be worried over and not triumphs to be celebrated. But where youths are led to believe that the complex realities of today can be solved by waving signs and chanting. He leveled his gaze out at the audience. This isn't education, this is indoctrination. A student sitting near the front yelled, Totalist! Rico jerked his head in her direction. That's exactly what I mean. You can't speak truth in this country without getting smeared with meaningless accusations. His mouth curled into a sneer. Now, if I actually were a totalist, do you think I'd let this young lady make it out of this auditorium alive? The crowd erupted into fury. No shit, this dude's a scumbag. Their boos escalated into full-throated shouts of down with the Duke. Rico, get the fuck off the stage. It's time for the king to speak. Rico opened his mouth to retort, then closed it. He nodded his assent. The audience began cheering as he retreated from the podium. He spoke to me under his breath. You see what I'm up against. I doubt you'll fare much better. You brought this on yourself, cousin. You embarrass us both. I took Rico's place behind the podium. I could feel the tension in the hall. I glanced at Titus. He was scanning the crowd, alert for the slightest sense of danger. I took out the notes I'd prepared. Ladies and gentlemen of Isa. I am proud to be an alumnus of the oldest and most prestigious university in Rizia. War, revolution, social upheaval, these halls have seen it all and lived to tell the tale. Which is why I am truly dismayed that the Duke of Isa has allowed a culture of hate and intolerance to pervade this place. Rico is staring daggers at me. The Suamida members in the audience shifted in their seats uneasily. He speaks of unity, yet seeks to draw arbitrary lines between us and them. The truth is, there is no one Rizian identity, and that's exactly how it should be. The volume of the crowd is beginning to rise. Rico looked agitated. His eyes darted back and forth from me to the audience. Jeez. As much as I'd like to just remove him from power, I don't know if that's going to be a good idea or not. That could very well backfire with the support from House Taurus. So I'm going to go with that. Still, I ask you to have patience. Your Duke is young and has much to learn. Perhaps all of you can learn together what it means to coexist. My remark was greeted by sullen silence. I ask you to engage constructive discourse. Do not abandon your convictions, but do not give in to the path of violence either. Go fighting cacti! Nah, Glorious Axarizia. Hesitantly, the students and teachers assembled and began clapping. Vina sat still. She wasn't applauding at all. That was interesting, Your Majesty. It was either that or have you deposed. Be grateful. Sure. Celebratory speeches wrapped up. Titus and his guards escorted us out of the auditorium's back entrance. I wondered if I had managed to accomplish anything today. Honestly, probably not. Should have thrown him out of power, but I don't know what type of backlash that would have, so... Alright, well, let's start with this reporter here in Valen. Reports emerge of torture prison. The BFF guerrilla group announced to the world that it managed to reveal the existence of a torture facility deep inside Valen proper. The ultra-strict prison is supposed to not only hold BFF members, but also some of the arrested reported as missing in the aftermath of the Zeal bombing, possibly including Rizian citizens. Well, that's fantastic. Alright, and then we have one article from the Royal Herald. Isa University celebrations marred by sole troublemaker. The otherwise peaceful 750th anniversary of Isa University was disrupted by a rogue student who dared hurl insults at Duke Ricardus Taurus as he was attempting to promote the values of unity and tradition. Thankfully, the rude interruption was swiftly handled and the speech is allowed to continue apace, with His Majesty King Romus making a particularly eloquent contribution. Here's to another 750 years of Rizia's most prestigious academic institution, and to peace and order in the city it calls home. Interesting, okay. Let's see here. So, we have a meeting with Queen Livingston. Radicals infiltrate the reform movement. Let's do that first, so that'll be quicker. Let's see. Radical groups led by figures like Adarfo Sotolato have firmly infiltrated the reform movement and are now steering the agenda toward extreme goals. These radicals are positioning themselves as the voice of the movement, sidelining moderates and increasing tensions across the country. They openly talk about revolutionary changes, including abolishing the monarchy and restructuring the government along millennialist lines. Rizian intelligence warns that the growing influence of these radicals could soon lead to widespread unrest. Well, let's just increase some surveillance then. Okay, now what's going on down here? Alright, so at Fort Alais, Aureus environmental protests escalate. Let's See, the kingdom faces a growing environmental movement against the Aureus project located in Fort Alais. Protesters driven by ecological concerns are blocking roads, demanding immediate action. We must now decide whether to address these concerns directly, allowing the protests to continue peacefully, or take a firmer stance to disperse them. Well, I only have two options. I'm going to just disrupt the protests. And the report there, police clears road blockades. Scores of environmental protesters have blocked roads and tram lines all over the city. Some local residents complained about being unable to make it to work on time, demanded authorities take action, while business owners lamented lost revenues. By noon, most disruptions were cleared up, as police forces went around town and arrested those responsible for disrupting society. Yeah, I'm cool with protests, but not when you're, like, screwing over everybody else. Alright, now let's head over to Rumburg and meet with our cousin-in-law, I guess, whatever, Queen Livingston. The thump of airplane wheels on asphalt jolted me from my sleep. I was seated in the commercial jet we'd chartered for our royal visit to Thornburg. It had been a long, bumpy ride. Lorenzo was in the seat next to mine. On seeing I was awake, he smiled. Good morning, Your Majesty. I'm glad you were able to get some rest. Yeah, I always sleep well on airplanes. No phone calls or letters, no responsibilities except to get from point A to point B. Refreshing, I agree. He pulled a tin of wax out of his pocket and dabbed some onto the ends of his mustache. With all the foreign turmoil happening lately, it is comforting to know that Queen Beatrice is still on our side. That one seems tempting, but she's only family by marriage. And yeah, I don't know. We'll go with this one. Whatever that's worth, Rumburg has been looking great internationally. It is still a most powerful nation, and by far a more useful friend than enemy. The plane's door slid open, and Aid informed us that everything had been cleared for our arrival. Thornburg Airport, one of the biggest transportation hubs in Maricopa, had been completely emptied of passengers for our visit. As we descended the airplane stairs onto the tarmac, a horn quartet played a jubilant fanfare. Photographers in a cordoned-off press area eagerly began snapping pictures. A red carpet stretched from the plane to a waiting motorcade. Next to a pair of limousines, Beatrice Livingston and the Rumburg royal family waited to greet us. The Queen regarded me politely, but with some remove. She held out her hand. I kissed my sister-in-law's hand. She gave a prim smile of approval. Romus, Your Majesty, it has been some time. Your niece sends her warmest wishes. A pity she cannot be here. She abruptly turned and regarded Lorenzo, who was standing behind me. Mr. Escabel, His Majesty is lucky to have retained the services of a fine statesman like yourself. The good fortune is all mine. With a flourish, he knelt and kissed Beatrice's hand. She blushed slightly. Let's not delay. We have a full program of events planned at the Emerald Palace. Oh, you remember King Consort Boris and Prince Bradley? Lorenzo and I exchanged cursory greetings with the two men. The chauffeur opened their limousine door and they stepped in. Queen Beatrice, Lorenzo, and I were escorted over to a second car. I hope you two don't mind the company. We have so much to catch up on. I thought we should start right away. Good thinking. You never know who's listening at the palace. I assure you our security is second to none. But, of course, one can never be too careful. We got into the car and sat facing each other on leather banquets. Banquettes? I don't know. The engine thrummed to life and we began moving. Once we were in motion, Beatrice smiled at the two of us. Well, look at us, still allies after all these years. I wish you'd taken my advice about the Dusterous community to heart. I hear Rumburg expatriates fear their freedom of religion is restricted. I know it's not smooth sailing for any of us monarchies, but I trust you know what you're doing. Oh, I do, but my vision for transformed Rizia is far from complete. Don't change too much too swiftly. You have many years left to reign. I must compliment you on your skill for de-escalation of the police situation. Unless, of course, that was Mr. Escabel.
You're too kind, Your Excellency. But it was His Majesty's quick thinking that helped us avoid an armed conflict.
She turned to me.
Well done. And gaining access to the Aureus gas field at the same time. What a feat.
Yes, as long as relations with Palais stay friendly, we'll have the means to fulfill our energy commitments for years to come.
Excellent. We wouldn't want to have to go begging to Swordland now, would we?
I understand you've been having some trouble with the Republic lately.
Swordland has trouble with us, Miss Escabelle, not the other way around. It's true we've closed our embassy in Lockhaven, but that was a long-overdue response to the Republic's many attempts to isolate us. And then the President Reign had the nerve to condemn us.
Lorenzo looked distressed. He nodded at Beatrice to continue.
Thank you, Your Majesty. The fact that Rizia has maintained its connections to Swordland amounts to betrayal in my eyes.
I'm not a fan of President Reign either, but I've got to honor the deals I made with his predecessor.
Now, I respect that you're a man of your word, but I fear that the Swordlish President is not. It may not appear so at the moment, but Reign is most certainly up to something. He'll stab both of our kingdoms in the back with no hesitation. Mark my words.
We rode on. I looked out the window at a completely empty freeway. And by the way, how would you feel about the Grand Duchy of Palais joining Grace? She looked at me in surprise.
Why, I'm always happy to add more members to our exclusive club. Especially ones with such prodigious natural gas reserves. I have not yet broached the subject of zeal.
We should be getting the region back soon, assuming we stick to the terms of my agreement with Victor Smalllock.
In case that deal doesn't work out, I have another opportunity for you.
She leaned forward and spoke confidentially.
I suggest that you take advantage of Rumberg's contacts within the Bluish Freedom Front.
Blues, but they're terrorists.
They are a persecuted minority fighting an oppressive government. And their struggle can conveniently be channeled towards zeal.
Lorenzo coughed.
If I may, Your Excellency, zeal has nothing to do with the former Greater Bloody region. Why would the BFF get involved there?
Any action that destabilizes the Smalllock regime will help the Bluish cause no matter where it's carried out.
Lorenzo pondered over this for a moment.
I am loath to suggest violence as a solution to the zeal conundrum, especially since Valen may yet return the region through diplomatic means.
If we funded the BFF and Smalllock found out about it, he'd have an excuse to hold on to zeal forever.
And who would tell him to run that leaky fish ship, Your Majesty?
No, I don't like this. We'll figure out another way to retake zeal.
Suit yourself, Your Majesty. It was just a suggestion.
At any rate, Your Excellency, thank you for this offer and for entrusting us with such sensitive information.
Why, certainly. What are our lives for? Now, is there anything else on your mind?
If I told you I'd moved on from Lena, would it bother you? And the Queen fixed me with a long stare. Finally, Beatrice laughed lightly.
It's been over 10 years, my dear. I'd be more concerned if you hadn't moved on. But not. As long as my niece is still heir apparent to the Rizian throne, you will always be family in my eyes.
We turned off the freeway. The massive green domes of the Emerald Palace loomed in the distance. We finished the journey in comfortable silence. There's still a long visit ahead of us. Awesome. Alright, let's see here. Got 2 newspaper articles here. So I got 1 from each paper. So first off, Rizia and Rumberg reaffirm alliance. Following successful negotiations between Queen Beatrice and King Romus, both partners have, as expected, agreed on strengthening cooperation between both of our kingdoms. Historically, our nations have been tied together, even including a blood tie between the late Queen Lena and our very own Romus. We at the Royal Herald are looking forward to an era of increased cooperation. And from Geopolitico, Operation Bear Trap begins. President Smolak has declared the start of Operation Bear Trap against a separatist military group that plagues northern Valen, the Blutish Freedom Front. Rumberg, Agnolia, and Lesbia have condemned the mobilization order, citing the war crimes committed during the previous assault against the Blutish people, while Swordland has not made any comments on the matter. Watchtower of Human Rights said that they will be following the developments closely for any infractions on human rights violations. Cool. Alright, let's see here. So, I guess pop back to Portraits on here, and let's check out this protest first. So, protests over Manu Sazon's departure and RPP leadership struggle. The recent development of Manu Sazon, leader of the Rizian People's Party, abruptly leaving the country to relocate to Kairut, has sparked a wave of protests across the country. While Sazon has not publicly explained his reasons, rumors are swirling that a sudden exit is due to mounting pressure from the government, leading many of his supporters to believe he is forced into exile. Protests have erupted across the country, with demonstrators accusing the government of driving Sazon out in an attempt to sabotage the reform movement. Rizian intelligence reports that a power struggle within the RPP has emerged in the wake of Sazon's departure, and the particle's radical faction, led by Adolfo Sotolado, is gaining influence. This group is calling for more aggressive action against the monarchy and capitalizing on the growing frustration and uncertainty surrounding Sazon's abrupt departure. Let's just go disrupt the protests again. Alright. And then that leaves us here with Duke Reinhart coming to visit Portraits. As the morning sun casts its golden rays over the portrait-lined halls of the palace, I waited for Duke Reinhart to arrive. The meeting, a follow-up on our recent Aureus Gasfield agreement, was crucial in solidifying our newfound cooperation. I paced the grand reception hall, looking at its walls adorned with tapestries depicting the glorious history of Rizia, while Pablo was making sure everything was in order. I stopped in front of one massive tapestry map dated from the 7th century, which showed the Resident Empire at the height of its power. The borders stretched far and wide, including most of the current territories of current-day Morella, Dirtia, Valen, and the southern coasts of Lesbia. What are you thinking about that map, I mean? Do you think it's too aggressive having this in the reception hall? I'm not so sure about that. Few threads still link the ancient Resident Empire and modern-day Rizia. However, he pointed at one map hung in the corner of the hall. Don't you think that particular map might be perceived a bit negatively? It was a very rare map depicting the borders of the kingdom in the 18th century, showing Pelé as part of Rizia. You're right, the Duke may take it the wrong way. Take it down. Pablo signaled to a pair of nearby servants. A few minutes later, they returned with a ladder and swiftly removed the map. Suddenly, we heard a knock on the door, signaling the arrival of the Duke. I'll leave you to it, Your Majesty. Don't stray too far away. Our guest may be thirsty. Before I had time to recollect myself, the doors suddenly opened. Duke Reinhart strode into the hall, glancing around at the paintings and tapestries on the walls. He approached me, and we shook hands. Welcome to Rizia, Your Grace.
It's great to be here, Your Majesty.
He smiled and gestured at the pair of armchairs that had been set out for us. Let's have a seat. We both sat down.
So, Your Majesty, I hope you've been faring well since we last met. I must say, the Aureus field has been a game-changer for us, now that extraction's begun in earnest. From the reports Rizian Oil and Gas are sending me, it's been quite the boon to your industries and foreign trade as well. I'd say we both made out like bandits, wouldn't you?
Yes, your support has been invaluable, but there's always room for growth.
Oh yes, with the luck, this energy partnership is only the beginning. Look, Your Majesty. I believe the resolution we reached and the crises we've shepherded each other through together amount to more than just handshakes and numbers. In light of this, I've been contemplating the future, our next steps.
I agree wholeheartedly. That resolution was a sign of deeper understanding between our countries. We can't stop there.
I like the way you think. But we've been circling around this for years. I told you I've been trying to get play out from under Lesbia's thumb. And you know Vox and pounce on us if we're unprotected for even a second. I've seen the way they're eyeing Helly Island. I also believe Rizia and Play are natural partners. Our countries are politically and culturally the closest in southern Makopa, maybe even the whole world. And now that we've entrusted Rizia with our energy instead of Lesbia, our futures have become inextricably intertwined. I don't know why I couldn't say that word. Inextricably. There we go. He paused and gave me an intense stare, as if you were expecting me to cut in with an offer. I just let him continue. I waited for him to speak. He glanced around the hall for a few seconds before his eyes landed back on me. I would like Rizia to help Pelé join Grace. Pulling away from Lesbia necessitates strong allies with common goals. Rizia is a key member. Have you considered extending an invitation our way?
As a matter of fact, I've recently discussed this very topic with Queen Beatrice. Rumberg would love for Pelé to become a Grace member.
Is that so? What incredible news. So, can I expect you to advocate for a membership at the next Grace meeting?
Not so fast. What's in it for us if we put in a good word with Queen Beatrice?
Are you serious, Your Majesty?
Oh. Not quite what I meant. Of course not. Relax, Axel. I'll put in a good word. He narrowed his eyes and broke into a grin.
Thank you, Your Majesty. I'm looking forward to commiserating over the pressures of the crown with all of you.
He paused before choosing his next words deliberately.
Speaking of which, the pressure to choose a spouse is weighing on me very heavily at the moment. And with Rizia, I see an opportunity.
Sorry, Axel, you're not my type. He laughed.
Don't worry, Your Majesty, I wasn't referring to you. However, I have admired Princess Vina for some time now. We formed a connection to her time in play. Ask her, she won't deny it. She's got the spirit of Rizia in her, and a marriage between us could be, well, it could be something special. I mean, think about it. What better way to unite our lands than through family?
Marrying the heiress to the throne. That's quite a leap from energy agreements.
Assuming Vina agrees to it, this union will not only be a powerful symbol of reconciliation between our families, but a merging of our country's destinies.
Such a marriage can only be allowed if you take the Taurus name matrilineally.
Listen to me, Your Majesty. My intention is not to execute a power grab. Having said that, Play will be giving up a lot of autonomy in the case of such unification, so I'll have to insist on keeping the Reinhart name. And I do have one final condition. If we are to reunify, I want my domain to include Greater Pelé.
Oh, I see. Okay. Gladly, but only if my daughter has a part in governing it.
I wouldn't dream of having it any other way. Just think about it.
I'll bring it up with Her Highness, but if she says no, that's the end of this conversation.
That goes without saying. Thank you. Was there anything else you'd like to discuss?
I'm just gonna go with that and see what happens. Yes, I have something to offer you. I believe we can do more than just grace.
I'm listening.
Oh, actually, I kind of like that. I envision a grander alliance that encompasses our neighbors in southern Makopa. We have to protect this region from encroaching world powers. If you and I work together, we can achieve this.
An intriguing proposal. Tell me, what would this new alliance look like?
You may have already noticed that the energy deals I've been making with my neighbors. With the help of the Aureus gas, I want to create a network that spans southern Makopa.
I like the sound of that. But getting more than 2 South Macopan leaders in a room together is like herding cats. Total chaos. Who else is in?
Potentially Morela and Valen.
With their CSP connections, Lespio would just love that. I'm not a gambling man, Your Majesty. Not after certain events are going to be banned from every casino on the Flanker Boardwalk. Nice. But keep me posted on the scheme of yours. It just might be crazy enough to work.
As long as it's not a clear no, that's good enough for me.
Is there anything else you'd like to discuss?
I do have one other offer I'd like to extend your way.
I'm all ears.
Oh, we definitely don't have the military to help out with that, so let's just ignore that for right now. Actually, I'm having second thoughts. Maybe now is not the time for this discussion.
Right.
He sighed.
I believe I've said everything I needed to.
He stood up, shook my hand.
Thanks for having me, Your Majesty. It was a pleasure as always. Until next time.
Fantastic. Alright. Well, that was pretty cool. Hopefully something will come of that here soon. But in the meantime, though, that feels like as good a place as any to go ahead and call it for today. So, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see y'all next time.